Right, time to talk Pirates. So Pirates is a really, really solid set of cards, right? So it leans heavy into blue, similar to, for instance, Part of Them Is Found. But rather than chi in this sense of having to find something, we have gold to back it up. So blue with gold is just really, really good, because at worst, it's just getting you a resource and cycling a card, and that is beautiful. When combined with, of course, just nice, big, solid cards like Pirate has access to. But before we dive into the cards, Scurv. So Scurv Stowaway, the Pirate Thief hero. Currently only a young variant, but maybe we see a Thief Armory deck down the line or something like that, because I do think he'd be a solid adult. So action, tap this, destroy gold you control to create a Gold Kiss Rum token. So Gold Kiss Rum is a free go again, at the cost of tapping your hero, right? So you're alternating, creating, and using it. But think Embodiment of Lightning, right? Embodiment of Lightning only targets attacks. Gold Kiss Rum targets anything and everything, right? It is a free go again onto every single action card, which by itself is already pretty nice. But then we also have the fact that whenever you activate a Gold Kiss Rum, you also gain a resource. So yeah, I do really like Scurv, and I hope we see him in Class Constructed. I really would like to see how he fares. I don't think he'd obviously be top tier unless we get a proper dedicated Thief package, but I do think he'd still be fun and somewhat solid. But in conjunction with him, we have Sticky Fingers, and if you're going to play him in a constructed format, so for instance Blitz, then you're most likely taking Teleshare the Lost Prince. So again, these are just nice charged weapons essentially, right? Sticky Fingers, eventually your opponent will deal with him, so he's not just an infinite weapon that you can use, nor is Teleshare. So you have, in a sense, pretty solid, almost above great weapons, maybe, right? For a weapon, obviously, value gets a bit reined in since we are using it over and over. So Teleshare, you can attack with it 3 times and say 2 for 4. And the Sticky Fingers, most likely a one-off, but maybe your opponent doesn't deal with him and you get that extra added value. Or, you know, they don't have a just nice ping because he's 2 life, unlike Polly, where Polly just gets sniped fairly easy. But Sticky Fingers themselves, when this attacks a hero, steal a gold token they control, which definitely does matter in the High Seas meta, but may have some relevancy, again, if it was class constructed against, say, Victor or Kasai. That's definitely a nice thing to have up your sleeve. But aside from that, we also have one spec, so Scurv Specialization, not so fast, a yellow instant. The next time an opponent would draw a card from the effect of a gold token this turn, instead you draw the card. So that, again, is a really nice solid interrupt, and if it wasn't just off of gold, if it was just the next time an opponent draws during the action phase, similar to Anchor, that would be absolutely disgusting, right? So a little bit more one-dimensional for the currents, again, High Seas limited, but does seem somewhat applicable as a sideboard card again into certain matchups. And then for equipment, we have Light Fingers. When this defends, if you're a thief, steal a gold token the attacking hero controls. Again, more relevant to High Seas than overall, but still a nice solid one block that nets you a gold token to then feed into Scurv's abilities. Otherwise, our gold baited hook as our legendary pirate equipment. Action tap, your next pirate attack this turn gets, when this hits a hero, steal a gold token. If they don't control a gold token, then you get to create one, which is where it becomes a lot better, right? This idea of if your opponent has it, you take it. If they don't, you still get benefit is definitely really nice, but I can understand why it's reserved for the legendary and not seen on, just cards across High Seas. It also has Battle Worn 1, so generally speaking, it's better than Light Fingers to me, right? But, uncontestable thievery versus, again, the chance for your opponent to impede it and blow up your gold-baited hook. There's a question there. And then a nice big attack by way of money or your life. So 3 cost. When this hits hero, deal 2 damage to them unless they give you a gold token. And then if you're a thief, you get to repeat this process once. So it's a 3 for 6. That deals an extra 2 damage. So think of it as a 3 for 8, right? And then as Scurv, it becomes a 3 for a possible 10, which is definitely a nice, solid, big attack that you can give a go again. That feels more like a 2 because you have, again, either floating resources from gold or the actual resource generation through your Gold Kiss Rum. So it's a nice, solid attack for Scurv. But aside from that, in terms of just pirate equipment in general, we have, again, the Gold Baited Hook, our Blue Sea Tricorn, Buccaneer's Bounty, Fish Fingers, and Peg Leg. So the cohort of the common equipment you will get if you go to your pre-release, right? It comes as a cold foil package, and you are able to use it for the sealed event during pre-release. So overall, these are really solid, and at least to me, they outcompete most of the other generic commons in the set, because they are just a little bit more functional, right? Buccaneer's Bounty is, again, akin to something like Blossoming Spring, but it has the flexibility of being able to either block with it or gain that resource. So, again, overall, doesn't stand up to the other legendaries that we have, obviously Tunic, but it is still a solid piece for our limited events. And if you're interested, Commoner or eventually Project Blue. Aside from that, Peg Leg, Pay 3 to give your next attack go again. It's a bit more functional than some of the other go again we have that is generally gated, but it's akin to something like Time Skippers, does the exact same thing, but one-dimensionally because it's only targeting attacks rather than getting you an extra action point. Fish Fingers, pay 1, an attack +1. I believe that's better than Fisticuffs, which is pay 2, right? And then Blue Sea Tricorn, just to pay 3 to draw a card. So essentially a nice chunk of silver, right? If you're really into drawing. But again, they all have that added flexibility of being able to block as well. And then, of course, our Legendary of Gold Beta Hook probably slots into Gravy, definitely. Marlin, maybe. Puffin, I think it drops off just because there's just not enough pirate attacks for you to use it as well. But of course, for Scurv, it's definitely going to be a solid inclusion. So that brings us to our first new mechanic for pirate, which is High Tide. If there are 2 or more blue cards in your pitch zone, this gets something, right? So Conqueror of the High Seas is obviously the really, really big one. It is our pirate command and conquer. When this hits a hero, destroy all cards in their arsenal. Create a gold token for each card destroyed this way. So it doesn't have defense, reaction, protection, but instead it is a nice, big potential 4 for 8 with go again if you pitch 2 blues into it, right? So you're floating 2 resources to get off a pummel or go into something else, and it's just a big go again, right? So that alone is what makes it such a powerful card. Aside from that, we have our Battalion, which is a 4 for 7 that becomes a 4 for 9, so just a nice big stat stick with 3 block. Our Swiftwater, which is a 2 for 6, so a little bit harder to actually set up with High Tide. This is something you chain together, but, you know, Conqueror into Swiftwater into a weapon, something like that. Pretty decent, right? So High Tide, if there are 2 or more blue cards in your pitch zone, this gets go again. But it does drop off a little bit because it only has 2 block. But these big attacks having go again are definitely kind of a premium. And then we have a set of 3 ships, Barracuda, Kraken, and Marlin. So all of them are High Tide, 2 or more blues, gets +1 and overpower. Yellows with 3 block, 4 costs, so again, easy to set up the High Tide, but all do something different on hit. So we have destroy an ally they control through Barracuda, destroy an item they control through Kraken, and destroy the top card of their deck through Marlin. So I think Marlin drops off as it's not something directly relevant to play, but it is fringe, you know, in the case of messing something up specifically. And then in the case of Barracuda, it's kind of a bit more specific to Gravy, right? Because if this is getting damage across, well, you've already blown up Ward for Prism, and we don't have dragons back just yet, but potentially, right, more usability. And destroy an item they control, at the very least within High Seas, that's gold, if not something a little bit greater. But they're still just nice, solid, big 7 overpower attacks. But I do definitely lean a little bit more to the nice, big go-again cards. Now, we also have top decking as pirates. So a few different ways. So Shifting Tides, at the start of your turn, pitch the top card of your deck. If it's blue, put this to the bottom of your deck, otherwise destroy this. So it is essentially an energy pot, but kind of, right, that you're setting up straight away and has go again. So that's a little bit nice. As long as your opponent doesn't destroy it as an aura, you're going to get those resources in the following turn. So yeah, I do definitely like that. He can impede certain mechanics. For instance, getting a 1 or 2 off of it for a High Tide will mess you up, but getting a blue off of it would be fantastic. So potentially worth it, potentially high value, but maybe a little bit inconsistent to actually make it work. But if you are getting that continued use out of it, right, hitting a blue every time, God, that's going to feel really, really good. Now, Saltwater Swell. When this attacks, reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a blue, pitch it, right? They're all blue pitch it. They're not yellow for yellow, red for red, or anything like that. And then it has go again. So 1 for 3, go again. That potentially nets you an extra 3 resources. So again, in the mentality of sticking to blue, you're floating 2 and getting an extra 3. So this is a 1 float 5, lose a card, go again. 3 block, right? Yeah, I think I like Saltwater Swell, right? Again, essentially what this package does is, if you're taking blue, you're reducing the detriment of it, right? The lower stat points, because you're getting so much added value. It allows you to do bigger and better things through other means, whether that's at the very least as pirate, just feeding those resources into gold, because there are a lot of decent ways to generate gold. Murderous Rabble, our inverted Ravenous Rabble, so when this attacks, reveal the top card of your deck. This gets +X, where X is the pitch value of the card revealed this way. So it is a starting 0 that can potentially be a 3 go again as a blue, which is definitely nice, right? But if you hit a yellow 2 or red 1, still, I think fairly decent, and a 3 block. Throw Caution to the Wind, reveal the top card of your deck. Next time you'd be dealt damage this turn, prevent X of that damage, where X is the pitch value of the card revealed this way. Again, you hit a blue, it's a 3, yellow 2, red 1 prevention, right? So still a pretty solid instance, and again, just retaining value for taking Klloo, right? Which I will continue to deflect onto Melody not being a pirate. So I'm probably one of the only people who takes like Blue Sync and FABTCG just so I can do the final act package off of silver consistently. So having this type of card package that recoups that value rather than taking the poorly statted versions of cards would be fantastic. But essentially moving off of blue, we have yellow cards for Pirate, right? So scrub the deck, Portside Exchange, Golden Tipple, and Swindler's Grift all want to now hit yellow cards in different fashions. So scrub the deck, destroy the top card of target hero's deck. If it's a yellow, create a gold token. So this is a little bit better than the other destruction effects because we are getting something, right? It's better contract, if you will. But you do have to hit that yellow card. You can hit yourself. So through Gravy, being able to look at the top card of your deck, this is definitely a nicer card. But at the end of the day, the majority of these being blue 3-block cards is definitely the saving grace for the potential missing of their effects. Portside Exchange, discard a card, then draw a card. If a yellow card is discarded this way, create a gold token. This is essentially the same effect for Golden Tipple or Swindler's Grift, but they are on attack, right? So you discard a yellow to get a new card, and you get a gold token out of it. So a little bit of cycle, obviously great setup for Gravy Bones, but overall, again, getting gold, being able to then continue with a mostly or partially blue deck that floats through that resource, gets you the cycle, is definitely really, really strong. So Golden Tipple, a 1-3 go again with that discard yellow effect, and Swindler's Grip being a 2-6 no go again, just basically our foundational ways of generating gold for Pirates. Then we have our turn-offs, right? So all of these, again, target yellow, but they target a card in a graveyard and they turn it face down, meaning that that card can no longer be interacted with. So Sunken Treasure, when this defends, you may turn a card in a graveyard face down. If it's yellow, create a gold token. Pill for the Weak, on hit, do the same thing. If it's yellow, create a gold token. And Seafloor Salvage as an action that again does the same thing to create a gold token. So turning off certain cards is definitely going to be very helpful. Obviously Count Your Blessings as Gorn, which would have been the main target probably for the majority of these cards, but still a nice effect, more so on the block, right, if it nets you that gold token. Then we have a few stealing effects, right? So for each hero that controls more gold than you, steal a gold token they control. And this does work in UPF, right? So it's for each hero that controls. So in UPF, you could steal from multiple people. And then if you gain control of one or more gold tokens, so essentially if you've stolen a gold token from this card, the next attack gets +2, next attack gets overpower, and the next attack this turn gets go again. So they are unfortunately all 2 blocks, but they are still niche effects that are definitely a little bit more catering towards limited, but still a little bit solid, but still potentially decent enough, right? Especially in the case again of the go again off of a blue, or even a +2 off of a blue that amounts from you gaining control of gold. So you're taking it from your opponent, you're benefiting from it, and then you're also getting a solid effect. But generally speaking, they will probably be too inconsistent for the wider range of play. Then we have some really fun cards, right? So a string of yellows that essentially all have, if you control less gold than your opponent, gain X, right? So Gold Hunter Lightsail, when this attacks, if you control less, this gains go again. Gold Hunter Longbow, this gains +2. Gold Hunter Marauder, overpower, and Gold Hunter Catch, -2 to its cost to play. So a 1 for 4 go again with our Gold Hunter Lightsail is definitely really nice. A 0-5 is also solid. A 3-6 overpower is a little bit rough with 2 block and a yellow. And then our Gold Hunter Catch being a 2-7 is okay as well. So again, more so for high seas and limited, but there is, one way at the very least to give your opponent gold and activate these types of effects. So tip the Barkeep, create a Gold-Kissed Rum token. You may give a gold token you control to another hero. If you do, put this on the bottom of its owner's deck. Now, obviously, banking on those 2 cards to show up at the same time is going to be rough, so I wouldn't, right? But Tip the Barkeep by itself is definitely still solid. So again, Gold Kiss Rum is a free action point, right, onto any action card, attack or non-attack, so definitely really nice. Comes at the cost of tapping your hero, but remember that doesn't lock you out of passive effects, so draw off Puffin, playing allies or Watery Grave from Gravy, and of course loading as we draw with Marlin, right? Then Loan Shark, go again. When this enters the arena, create 2 gold tokens. So a yellow that creates 2 gold tokens and has 3 block. What is that possibly comparable to? Well, Starting Stake, right? So Starting Stake is just getting absolutely shafted. So it's a 2 block that creates a gold, doesn't have go again, and you have to control no gold. It does make me wonder if not Loan Shark, because I think 2 gold for the heavy hitter heroes would be pretty excessive, but just a easy 1 gold generating card, how that would have functioned. But in the case of Loan Shark, it does come with the somewhat downside of at the beginning of your end phase, if you haven't created or stolen a gold this turn, destroy this. then lose 2 life unless you discard a card. So that 2 life in Blitz, definitely a lot more impactful. When it comes to Classic Constructed, I'm pretty sure you're happy to take it every time, right? Because that 2 gold is just a huge boost in all 3 heroes, filtering as Gravy, creating Golden Cog and Crank as Puffin, and either drawing floating resources or creating a Harpoon as Marlin. Not to mention it gets you to that magic number of 3 gold tokens a little bit easier, where you can then put 2 blues into it and profit a card. So yeah, definitely solid Majestics. And then to round it out, we have Charter Course, which are a very, very fun card that I hope is a mechanic they continue to dabble with. So we've seen it, in a sense, with Dual Threat, where you have to alternate attacking styles. Now we have it your first, second, or third attack, right? So Chart the Course is all a +3, interestingly. So the red is fair in that sense, right? A little bit rough because of the 2 block. Obviously, it does have that interaction with Treasure Island, but the yellow being a +3 is interesting. And of course, the blue being a +3 blue is definitely interesting. Because usually the stat value would decrease, right? So yellow would be a +2 and the blue would only be a +1. So maybe there's some potential use of just getting that extra value out of a buff card. Maybe not, right? But again, hopefully this is the sort of mechanic that LSS continues with, because it definitely is very, very interesting, right? Having to weave certain things together. And again, not doing the traditional string of attacks as, say, X class, but instead attacking, breaking the chain, and then going back at it, right? But there we go. The pirate cards in tow. Again, a solid amount of gold generation, a solid amount of big cards, and a solid amount of go again to back up all 3 of our new heroes, and of course, Scurv. Let me know what you think. Hope you enjoyed. Yeah.